Bartok's Hungarian Sketches, the Minneapolis Symphony Orchestra, conducted by Antal Dorati. You're listening to In Tune here on BBC Radio 3. Now, live performance from my next guest. He is the cellist, Jacob Shaw. He's here today with the pianist, Tarek Al-Shubbak, and they're going to perform for us music by the Bohemian cellist and composer David Popper. This is Fond Recollections. Thank you very much indeed. Live music on In Tune. Jacob Shaw, the cellist, Tarek Al-Shubbak, the pianist, and music by Popper. That was Fond Recollections. Jacob Shaw very carefully setting down his beautiful cello. How long have you had possession of that instrument? It is very beautiful.
Not long at all. About 6 months, actually.
And how did you and it meet?
Well, I'm a student in the Royal Danish Academy of Music in Copenhagen on their soloist scheme. And they have a collection of instruments with some fantastic instruments. They have a Strad violin, Guarneri violin, and things like this. And the one cello they have is a Testore cello. So they lent it to me now.
How very kind of them.
Yep, very.
How does that work, that click between you and an instrument? Is it one of those sort of love at first sight things that you have to pick it up and you play it and it is just right for you? Or do you grow to love things? Or how does that work?
Well, I have a very fine modern cello by Patrick Robin, a maker, and he made for many people, including Bernard Greenhouse. He made a cello for him. And I've had that for the last 4 years, and that was my first real cello. And then I never played anything older than that, and I was offered to try it, so I tried it, and it was just fantastic. It's very different to playing a modern instrument. You can't compare them at all, because my modern cello is also fantastic, but it has very different qualities.
I have to ask you about your amazing accent, because it is really hard to place where you're from. It says on everything you're British, but I know you're based in Scandinavia now, and you've studied in Paris and London and Augsburg in Germany and, as you say, Copenhagen. So where is home for you?
Where's home? Well, Englishman's home is always England, isn't it? So I was born in London, and then I went to the Menuhin School. So at the Menuhin School, there's not so many English people around, so I think I started losing it there. And then I left 7 years ago, so it wasn't on purpose.
I think you've got the fantastic kind of international musician accent spot on. Keep it. Don't do anything to it. It's perfect. Let's talk about Popper, because, of course, one of the great cellists, as well as a great composer for the instrument. I mean, you wrote a huge amount for the instrument. Is he, I suppose, then the Paganini of cellists? Do cellists have a Paganini, or does that not exist for you guys?
I think, well, you can't. I don't think you can describe it as that. I think Paganini is the Popper for the violin. So.
You take ownership of that. Oh, that's great.
Yeah. Of course, Popper, he wrote a lot of studies, and then the big book of studies of 40 etudes. And one of my first teachers at the Junior Guildhall, Geneviève Tulliard, who I then went on to study with in Paris as well, she was very strict about this Popper studies. And then when I was 18, I did the Popper competition. So a lot of Popper, and I've always played Popper. So this is why when I was asked at such short notice to come here, I thought it would be a good thing to bring out the Popper pieces again.
And as you say, you won a medal at the Popper competition when you were 18. It's not the only medal you've won. I was looking through your bio. It's kind of scary, actually. I mean, you have won a huge number of prizes in competitions all over the place. Is competition something that you relish? Do you get properly psyched up and you're one of those personalities who can cope with competition? Because it is difficult for some musicians to be able to get themselves into the mindset of being competitive.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of hype about competitions because there's so many competitions around. It's not like 40 years ago when there were, for example, for violin, Queen Elizabeth and Tchaikovsky and Paganini, that was it. And then there were, of course, some other ones, Ligeti, and which came along. For cello, it's different because I don't think there were such big competitions until recently. And I don't think competitions is such an important thing, but it's a very good way when I was younger and studying to prepare a big section of repertoire. So if you looked and you had in a year a competition and you had 4 rounds with 2 concertos, sonata, studies, showpieces, Bach suite, it's very standard. And after a while you realize that nearly all competitions, more or less, they have the same repertoire. And now when I do competitions, there's a lot of people that change their playing for competitions, and I don't. So I've had a big problem that either I'm thrown out in the first round, or I go to the final. I've never arrived in semi-finals and not gone on, or got to the semi-finals.
So you are a Marmite musician. It's a love you or loathe you thing.
No, just I think that you shouldn't change your playing. You should play like a concert, and if they don't like that, well, that's fine. Everybody has their opinion.
We're going to invite you to do some more of that very fine playing now. What are you going to perform for us next?
So now I'll play perhaps Popper's most famous showpiece for cello, the Hungarian Rhapsody.
Thank you very much indeed. Live performance on In Tune from the cellist Jacob Shaw, Tarek Al-Shubbak at the piano, and music by David Popper, the Hungarian Rhapsody. A great showpiece for the cello, the Hungarian Rhapsody by Popper, performed live on In Tune by Jacob Shaw and Tarek Al-Shubbak. Jacob Shaw, you have done so much work with your family, and I know that you come from this incredibly musical family. You founded a string trio with your father and your sister. Was it ever a decision to be a musician, or was it just kind of, it's written in the gene code, there's nothing you can do about it?
No, I don't think so. It's just when you're young, and my dad was in the London Philharmonic Orchestra, and all his colleagues, his friends were there, and we playing chain music in the evenings. Christmas was chain music, it still is. So I think it's quite natural that I play music now. But it's not the only thing that I know how to do. That's often the problem with people coming from one-track families. So my parents were very careful when both my sister and I were younger that we went to normal secondary schools, normal primary schools, prep schools, before I then took the decision to go to the Minuet School.
So if you hadn't been a cellist, what would have been the alternative?
I would have wanted to go into politics, I think.
We don't need more people in politics. There's far too many of them, but more good cellists in the world, yes. So we support your decision entirely. You have just been in the studio and you've been recording recently music by Brahms. Tell me about that record.
I've just finished it actually with my long-term pianist Jose Gallardo. I met him in Augsburg because he is very good friends with my former professor there. And so we met and we started playing a little bit, and I knew when I wanted to record my first proper CD, it would be with him. So, we had a lot of fun in the studio, and it's now in editing now. So
and you're pleased with it? It's sounding good?
It's sounding how I want it to sound. I'm not sure whether that's good or not.
How you want it to sound is great. But, I mean, I wonder then if there's a huge pressure at this stage of your career. You said it's your first kind of serious CD. To commit something to disc, and also because this is the point at which you open yourself up to the world and kind of say, okay, here I am, this is the disc, this is what I want to do. Did you grapple with those decisions, or was it always an obvious choice what you were going to record in the repertoire and that kind of thing?
Yeah, it was, and I've been told by several people that it's rather dangerous for a young person to record such a stable mountain of repertoire for the cello. And I know why that is, because there's so many recordings out there. But there's some wonderful recordings out there as well. But when I was working with Jose, we really did a study into exactly what is marked in the score. And I hope that when people hear it, they'll hear exactly what Brahms intended in the markings, because there's a lot of very different things which we play by tradition. We don't play that way. So I hope that comes across in the recording, and I hope, therefore, that it's going to be a little bit different.
You're going to play one last piece for us here today by, I suppose, one of the key figures in the landscape for cellists. Tell us what it is.
Well, this is a Catalan folk song arranged by Arr.Casals, called The Song of the Birds, which I'm sure many people have heard before. And
what is it about Casals that's so special for cellists?
Everything, I think. He was just the most fantastic musician. We hear in the recordings, and not only recordings of him playing, but conducting. And I think watching DVDs, documentaries about him as a person as well, that's what counts, really.
Fantastic. Yeah. We look forward to this. Thank you very much indeed. More live performance now on In Tune from Jacob Shaw. He's accompanied at the piano by Tarek Al-Shubbak and music by Arr.Casals, Song of the Birds. Thank you very much indeed. That was music by the Catalan maestro Pablo Casals. That was Song of the Birds, performed for us live by the cellist Jacob Shaw, the pianist Tarek Al-Shubbak. Thank you very much indeed to both of you. Great to see you. Thanks for coming in. And the debut CD we were just talking about with the pianist Jose Gallardo, the Brahms cello sonatas, will be out soon, we hope. We look forward to it. Thank you very much. And Jacob's also the soloist in John Taverner's piece for cello and strings, The Protecting Veil. That's at the Royal Danish Academy of Music on Saturday, the 25th of August. Music by Schumann next this evening, written for his